Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Hello. Not the plan today. Had a show planned, but had some other things come up later on in the day. Got a bunch of new Star Wars merchandise that like 12-inch dolls that I got in the day and I've been cataloging. So and then just dealing with usual Saturday stuff. So I did not have the time to put together the normal Saturday show, and by the time I was done with what I was doing, I was ready to just get out of there. So here we are with the Midnight Express. From now on, the Midnight Express moniker will only be used when I have to do a replacement show, because it's based on an express version of the show. So the Tuesday night show will be Open Topic. It'll be Open Topic Tuesday, and I'll actually create a little banner and everything and a thumbnail for that. Thursday show will be a normal standard topic show. And then Saturday will be, like usually on a Saturday, will be the overnight live. And then Sunday will be the weekend wrap up, unless we are watching a show. If we're watching a show, then the weekend wrap up will get either merged with it or it'll get moved down the line until we're done. Like, say, for instance, when Blade Runner 2099 starts happening, if that's on a Sunday, then that's when we're going to watch it. Or if there are other shows that come on any of the nights that are usually, like a Thursday show comes on, and we'll probably replace that with it. But otherwise, it'll just be us talking geek. But yeah, today was a pretty long day. Like I said, a lot of inventory stuff to do. Let me, like I said, let me show you some of the stuff we were able to pick up here today. I can't play the music. I made a little video of it that has the Imperial March, so that, you know, that we can't use because I know. Let's see. Let's go to post. Profile. Here we go. So yeah, somebody bought in some really cool figures. Like here you go. Here's some of them. Take a picture of that. Yeah, like there you go. Like some of these older ones from the late 90s. I think 1998 is when they were from. These are them before I put them up. This is just a couple of them. I actually got about 20 of them today, but they're 12-inch ones. Still going through. Somebody bought them in bins, and I got to find all the weaponry, like Han Solo's his gun, Obi-Wan his lightsaber blade. The Darth Vader is complete. It actually has his helmet in 2 pieces, and you'll see that in another slide I have. And then there's a Boba Fett. I have to find his backpack, but here you go. Okay, there you go. I can do it without the sound. So this is the TIE fighter pilot. That's Luke in his Hoth gear. There's the Boba Fett. There's the complete Obi-Wan. After I took the picture, I found it's like I got 2 of those. And then there's a Darth Vader with both parts of his helmet from Return of the Jedi. There's Luke in his X-wing gear, Lando Calrissian, and that's a TIE fighter pilot, the Emperor, and Darth Maul. And those are all complete. So that was a little bit of fun. All right. Twitter is not working for me right now, and neither are the super chats. It doesn't seem to be. You can try a super chat, but I was trying it earlier today. It wasn't working. So what I have done is I have pinned the movie request PayPal link. If you like to contribute to the center or to our show, you can just use that. But right now something's going on with YouTube's super chat function. It hasn't been working for the last couple of days. So just to be on the safe side, I've pinned that to the top of the chat. So here we go. All right, Duckman is here. My Aussie's here. How you doing, Carlos Miramontes? How are you doing, man? William, could Daredevil survive in Gotham City? Yeah. If a guy without superhuman powers can survive there, I think a guy who could pretty much sense everything around him and see you coming would be able to. I think Daredevil would do just fine in Gotham City. How you doing, Dana Man? William said long. Oh, geez. Okay. Dana Man, I don't know why I feel like hype with movies and fandom is coming to an end. We used to spend hours online every day talking about things we're excited for. It's just natural. It's a natural cycle of things. I think it will come back. You right now you have a lot of rot and fungus in fandoms right now, and they don't identify these characters with fun. They identify them with parts of their lives that they don't want anyone else to touch. And a lot of it, you see it in comic book characters, but you see it in Star Trek and Star Wars too. Instead of associating these IPs with fun and wonder, they attach them. It's a possession for them. It's their thing, and I always say that if you're stable of mind, nobody can really affect your fandom. Really, these movies are going to hit you in ways that they're not going to hit any other person. So if you're okay with that movie, show, or comic book, then that's really all that really matters with it. It's cool to talk with people about it, but right now the sad reality is people just don't know how to have conversations about this stuff without taking it personal or taking it, where it doesn't need to go. But case in point is what I'm seeing the discourse with Starfleet Academy. Some of the worst people that are breathing right now are putting comments on that, and it has nothing to do with the show. It's personal attack. It's not, they can't stay on top because they didn't have a point to begin with. It's one thing to give us opinion. Like I said, when when movie talk and comic talk is at its best is when we have diverse opinions. Agreement is not a prerequisite for having a fun conversation. Respect that there's a conversation being had is, but we can't get there these days. It becomes battle lines and stuff. So I don't think that's going to last forever, though, Dan. I think people will get sick of these type of conversations and start looking for the fun in things. And when that happens, I think we'll swing back to where things could be and used to be. How you doing, Drago? Two Aussies in the chat here. Wonder if Andrew Rigsby is around. William, just letting you know you're not popping up on X. But no, I sent a thing. It's not working. The X thing is just not working. All I have is a exclamation point telling me that we're not live, and I paid a little ransom and it's still not working. So like I said, I have had 2 problems today with YouTube StreamYards. My super chats aren't working, Somebody sent one during a show the other day, and it didn't show up on the thing, or did I get credit for it? So I had to resolve that, and then a couple of them came after that, and I'm like, okay, well, we're not gonna we're not gonna mess around with it. That's why you have the link up there for PayPal. One ring to rule them all. One, okay. That's Tolkien. I'm not. I'm sorry, guys. I know there's a lot of you out here that are into Lord of the Rings. It just bores the tears out of my eyes. Yeah, YouTube, StreamYard. I mean, Twitter, or X, whatever it is. It is what it is. I did see a picture of that. Him standing with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. So that's cool. Let's see. Oh, just been notified that I'm live. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to fix that, because some of you guys get the live thing immediately, and some people don't get it. Like one time, I went live. I was live for quite a while, and I never got the live notification. I never got it, and I'm the host of the show, so yeah, did see that. I didn't like Star Trek, so I stopped watching it because I know it's not for me, and I moved. Yeah, I mean that's really what should be done. How you doing, Jose? Damn, we're clear nearly in February and no brand new day. Daredevil Born Again season 2 trailer. When does Daredevil Born Again hit though? That's the brand new day is in June. Super Bowl is what, in 2 weeks? Maybe you get one there. But I don't know. They're doing things. People are doing things weird. Hell, Superman didn't have a proper trailer until inside of 90 days. Remember? So, I disagree with that. I think your trailer, your very first trailer, the big one, should come either at or before 6 months, and then you break it down, and then you have your 90-day trailer. But people are doing it different these days. So hey, it's not like a trailer is going to change anything for me. It's not like I can only buy my seat, so many times. I mean, I'm going to see Spider-Man. I'm going to see Supergirl. I'm going to see Doom 3. I'm going to see Doomsday. So for me personally, and those movies are going to, maybe they think because they are who they are and Avengers is the IP how much lead time you need. It's coming. RDJ's in it. So yeah. And same thing with Spider-Man. Spider-Man, 2 of the 3 millions or $1 billion, and Spider-Man is the franchise as far as the face of the franchise. Maybe they think they don't need them. I don't agree with that, but maybe that's the only way I can explain it. But yeah, we are rolling into February, and the only thing I can think is that Super Bowl Sunday will be it. By the way, I'm only solo tonight. Brad has got the flu again, and he will not be with us tonight. Death Rattle. I agree. I sort of agree with that. I mean, when I answer this question, I think it's a cycle. I think people run things into the ground and ruin them to the point where when they're done, they look at what they've ruined and they're like, you know what? I don't like this. I want what I had before. And the cycle will go around. I mean, I would hate to think that we permanently fucked up movie talk and discussions and stuff. I'd like to think we were a lot smarter than that, but at the same time, you see some of the comments in some of these threads and the back and forth. Most of it has nothing to do with the movie. Most of the discourse around these fandoms has more to do with the insecurities of the people making the post and part of the conversation, or a connection to something that has nothing to do with the movie that they feel threatened with. So all we really need to do when it comes to fandom and all this is to get back on topic, stay on topic, and respect the topic. That's that last part, respecting the topic. If you respect Star Wars, you respect Trek, and you respect the IPs, then by nature, you generally don't act like a fucking imbecile when you're talking to another Star Wars fan or another Trek fan, even if you disagree. If you respect the IP, then you respect the conversation that derives from it. Otherwise, if you don't even have that kind of decorum and respect, you're just a waste of time. So I think we'll get back to it again. I don't know about that. That's a little bit extreme, but I understand what's being asked, why it's not fun to talk about these things anymore, because you have imbeciles in it that are bringing baggage into it that doesn't belong in the conversation. Dan, man, William, you've been one of the few bright spots during this period. You should be proud of yourself and the platform you created. I do my best. I'm not perfect. I am far from perfect. Um, the best thing I can try to do is and I said this when we started the show and when I got on YouTube. If I will do this as long as I can have the type of conversations I would have if you were walking through my door or you were sitting across from me. I think the biggest thing, and like I said, when it comes to the respect issue, is that most of the time the kind of things people do to each other and call each other and say to each other online, if they were sitting across from them from a Starbucks over some coffee or something like that, they wouldn't say that. Not because they were afraid to have their jaw broken or anything like that, but when it's something about sitting across from somebody or communing with somebody or going to a convention with somebody or going to a movie with someone and having that type of disagreement, you just don't let things spiral out of control. But when we sit behind the computer sometimes, or we get in these chats and these forums, we're so disconnected. You're just a face on the screen and your words have no tone. So I try to keep the same type of tone and tenor that I would have if you were walking through my door, going through the merchandise, or we were sitting at a Starbucks. And I hope that is helped. Doesn't always work out sometimes. I've rewatched some of our shows and I'm like, ooh. And I rewatch a lot of our stuff. I rewatch almost everything we do, just trying to see where I can improve the show and how does this sound when I'm not saying it, when I'm just listening to it. How do I come off? Did I get my point across in the way that I wanted to? Did I say it or present it in a way that could be misconstrued? And I correct those things as best as I can. So thank you, Dan. I will continue to improve, and hopefully I have you guys' support with it. Patrick, I'm pretty much going to go through all your guys' comments tonight because I don't have a co-host and the topics I had, I didn't want to rush them and squeeze them. So we're gonna do those topics tomorrow. So right now I'm just going to go through your comments as long as you guys keep sending them or until I get too hungry. Social media reporting people for being negative instead of positive is proof that social media isn't real life. Yeah, the clicks. It's sad how many people obsess with important to social media. Yeah, because conflict builds an audience. Listen, my audience is tiny. There's a lot of stuff I could do to really get, hijack the algorithm or, put people in my thumbnails, so if I have a conflict with another YouTuber, let's put them in my thumbnail and let's, see if we can stir up some shit. I just don't want to do that because once again, that's not what I would do here in real life. So I really don't want to do it anywhere else. We avoid a lot of stuff. I do my best to avoid the sleaze. I do my best to stay on topic. If we're talking about something and we have enough information to talk about that, I try to do that. I try not to be the TMZ of YouTube, and I know that's cost me viewers. I've watched people's shows that are complete fucking garbage. I mean, I'm not bringing up any names, not like people that we know, some of our community, because those guys pretty much, even if I don't agree with them, they put on a good presentation. But I've just scanned around because you get this stuff that you just like, hey, you might like this, you might like that. And I click on the show. This guy's got like 16,000 followers, and he's got 1,000 people watching his or her show. And then they're just talking about misery. They're just talking about, the rumors. They're talking about, the end of the world types. And it's just like, damn, this drained the life out of me. Listening to that show drained the life out of me. But they got 16,000 followers and 1,000 people watching live. I have decided that, I have other means to make livings and stuff like that, this show is going to grow, the way I want it to grow. It's going to, it's going to have the vibe that I want it to vibe. Have and not be hijacked by the moment. So but yeah, YouTube and social media rewards conflict, unfortunately. So people go after the conflict. It's kind of sad. What are your thoughts on Lobo from Supergirl? As somebody who just really doesn't like that character, never liked that character, I get a lot of heat for this, man. Some of the insults I get because I call him Timu Wolverine, because back in the day, that's what I saw him as. But that being said, I thought it looked amazing. I thought I'm not the biggest fan casting, and I hate when people say he was made to play Lobo. I'm like, any actor can play any given character, well, he doesn't look like him. That's what makeup and wardrobe is for. But that being said, Jason Momoa, I like him in just about anything because he's one of the few people that just looks like he's having fun. And so even though I loathe that character, can't never keep giving rest in peace. You know, you're one of my favorites, but he drove me crazy with that character. Um, for the purposes of the movie, he looks fine. The motorcycle, he looks very accurate. It's fine. He looks more like the Simon Bisley Lobo, because Simon Bisley used to do a lot of the covers for the Lobo comics. I thought he looked fine. I thought it was smart to market him because he's a MILF magnet. And he's going to drag the demographic that they want to go see that movie. So yeah, he's not a part of the original story, which I'm fine with. I don't need a one-on-one adaptation, but with or without him, I was going to go see this movie simply because I'm a fan of the inspiration of it. So, but I thought Jason Momoa looked fine. He looks like he's in every movie he's in. He's having fun. He was the best part of the Fast and Furious movie that he was in. You know, I've been watching him since he played Ronan Dex off of Stargate Atlantis. That's where I first saw him. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it. Thought it was amazing for what it was, even if I hate the character. Tony Chappie. Well, why did I attempt to read your name? Because you know I just call you Chappie because that's just a mouthful. William, do you think that movie discussion and movie discussion and fandom have gotten so toxic, especially on YouTube, where you see nothing but negativity, and on they're just outraged? Yeah, we were explaining about conflict. Unfortunately, in any social media platform, conflict keeps the fire burning. And if I were doing YouTube for a living, I guess I might be tempted to do that, but I don't. And you know, I want to have the kind of conversations I want to have. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't, and like I said, we can yell and scream at each other. I don't even mind conversations getting crazy and heated. But once again, I've been on the screen on the platforms where it got that way, but we respected the IP to the point where every person I was talking to, for the most part, they knew the lines of decorum, they knew the lines of decency, and it didn't get crazy. And a lot of times, like I said, I will. Oops, blinked out. Some of these people really hate each other. I don't know how many shows I've been on to where the person on the show is just bought on there for conflict, or you know, they spend their whole stream talking about somebody they have a beef with, and that gets abused. That does it for them. That gets some views. That pays a bill for them. And I just, you know, that's the thing, and YouTube rewards that. Shows like mine ain't getting shit because, you know, I'm not fighting, I'm not tagging somebody. I don't have a bunch of people sharing my stream because they you know, it's like kids to a fight. When two kids start fighting in the playground back in the day, everyone, you know, the one kid would say fight, and everybody would gather around. That's pretty much what YouTube has become sometimes, and social media in general. Everybody wants to see the spectacle, and I just don't want to present one unless it's the spectacle that we're talking about. Social media does more negativity. I don't know why I keep blinking out. To me, that's the same as rewarding negativity, because they could adjust with their algorithm, you know, just like when YouTube rewards, they promote your videos more if your short form and shorts, right? That's a decision that they've made, so it's their platform. So not always. I know some regular wrestling channels that go hardly nowhere. That's true. You still have to be, you know, a lot of it is, it depends. I know a wrestling channel that, a pretty big one, that that has a lot of subscribers but not a lot of views. But all he does is it's rumors and sleaze and things like that. I'm not going to bring them up name wise, but there are some. Most of your wrestling channels, though, your bigger views are going to be like people who do recaps and live watches and stuff like that. A lot of the negativity on wrestling, it's just it was such a part of the community for so long that it doesn't really strike a chord with anybody. So if you don't like Triple H or WWE, it just doesn't. We've been through it so many times where a lot of us generally don't watch those shows. Most wrestling fans in general don't go necessarily looking for, because if we decided we don't like something, we don't want to watch something, why converse about it with anybody? So that might be one of the reasons. But I do know some negative wrestling shows that do pack a punch and do get thousands of viewers, but for the most part, it's baked into the reality of wrestling. I mean, we just don't care about half that shit like comic book movie fans do. Let's see. Super Sentai is ending. Free Minnesota. Yeah. Wow. That's all I got to say about that. Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings. Wow. 2 IPs that I'm just not into. But I know, I don't know. I mean, who would win? I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking, Lord of the Rings, you got like entire armies and orcs and shit, wouldn't they? Lord of the Rings? I don't know. Rational Skeptic William, did you see professional climb? Yeah, that dude climbed the Taipei Tower without. Yeah, crazy. No safety rope or harness. You must be out your damn mind. I saw that too. They were watching, and I'm like, you could have wore a Spider-Man costume, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but that's crazy. That Taipei Tower is no joke, man. And there's not a lot to be grabbing. What was he grabbing on? I saw a little bit, but they only showed it when he was on the top, and I'm like, you're insane, homie. You are insane. But congratulations on not dying. There you go. Harry Potter would win with all the magic. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this one up to you guys. With all the magic crap. The other ones didn't have much magic. Let's see. All right. Man, Invincible season 4 just around the corner already. I gave up on that after season, I think, 1. But full disclosure, I was never a big fan of the comic back in 0203. So it's still a good seller. I sell the volumes now, and I got a customer who like eats them up. I got a couple customers who do, and it's funny because I always told you guys, when I have it set up in my As Seen on TV section, and people will walk in, they'll go over there and they say, wow, they made a comic book of that show. And I'm like, no. It's the other way around. I bet you Relief. I retype that forth. I don't know what you're trying to tell me. I bet you Relief in to our debate. What? I don't know if you were doing the whole train thing where you didn't push the button right. Invincible's a Robert Kirkman comic, same guy who did Walking Dead, I think, and it was a Image comic from back in like 2002, 2003 till 2004ish, I think, 2005, and now it's a TV show. Now it's a show. I think it's on Amazon. I think it's in. And you take everything you say back. No, not be honest with you guys. I try not to talk without thinking. I try not to be impulsive. If I'm gonna say something, especially on a platform like this, I really try to slow myself down. I'm not a big fan of just responding. And if I don't have an answer for you for a particular opinion or a question, I try not to give one. And it may seem like I'm copping out, but no, I generally, when I look back on our shows, I do a lot of stuff that I can improve, all kinds of technical stuff that could be improved. But when it comes to my answers and how I feel about things on a particular day, I either am okay with it because I thought about it before I said it, or I'm okay with the evolution I made if I've changed my mind. Like if I said something a couple months ago when the reality of something was different and things changed, and I said something, I'm okay with that evolution. So, but no, I don't generally take too many things I say back because I don't blurt them out. I try not to. It's very dangerous to do that way. Similar with Brad and BBS, I had someone tell me in the comment section on a video to go F myself for saying that I like the Total Recall remake. And see, here's the thing though. People shouldn't do that. Jokingly, let's joke around. Like, I mean, Brad likes Mystery Man. I think Mystery Man is an awful, awful movie. I hate that movie. He likes it. I joke with him. I would never tell him to go fuck himself, though. Listen, it's your 3M's. It's your 3M's. It's your money. It's your moment. And it's your memory. I can't live that for you. The person who told you to fuck yourself in the chat can't live that for you. Nothing that made you feel good about what you saw, he's not going to relate to that. So it doesn't matter what that person said. Yeah, it's fun to commune with a bunch of people who like the same stuff you do, and you're going to find that in any of these things. But when it comes to what you like, nobody should be able to make you feel like shit for watching stuff. Listen, Titans, a lot of problems with that show. I enjoyed it. Nobody's going to change my mind about how I feel about that show in a chat room or in person or anything. And that's really we'll just focus on the 3M's, Chappie. It's you. How did it make you feel? How does it make you feel when you think about it? That's all you really need to matter, or really matters. Yeah, and we're getting Shazam and we're getting Black Adam apparently. So yeah, listen. You don't even. I'm excited for anything that comes. If it has Absolute in front of it, I'm excited. If it has Absolute on it, I'm excited. Hold on, let me fix something real quick here. Connect. Come on. There we go. Let's see. Andrade is really turning into a real womanizer. I think his new gimmick is pretty cool. It makes him more likable. Yeah, and he seems like he's happy. He seems like he's happy to be back in AEW. So no, people say the Big Show was made to play Kingpin. Yeah, and that's like I said, I always try to stray away from people. Look at people and they say, "Oh, he should play this. He should play that." Like when they say, "Well, Bane, Batista should play Blaine," I'm like, based on what? See, we have these images in our head, and we think that's what should be out there. And I'm like, that's what you have in your head is from something that someone else has already done, for the most part. Some people can translate their imagery from the comics to the shows and try to build it from that. But for the most part, even then, you're at a major disadvantage. When you say somebody should play a certain character, you are bereft of the script. You don't have that in front of you. You don't have the screenplay in front of you. You don't have that director's or producer's vision in front of you. So if you were making your own movie, a lot of times it would probably end up turning out looking like something we've already seen because that's where you're deriving your images from. So, yeah, I see the fan casting and I'm like, I know it's fun, but we got to be careful when it comes to fan casting to like draw the line at the point where when they do make an announcement, because a lot of times when people fan cast, they end up making these announcements and then they make the announcements and the person's like, that person would never be. What are you doing? That's horrible casting. And I'm like, you don't have the script in front of you. So Grace Randolph describe Mania the best. Mania the best. He's not an actor. He comes off a contestant who on a game show. Momoa. Okay. So let me read that again. Grace Randolph described Momoa the best. He's not an actor. He just comes off. Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's kind of cool actually, because he just seems happy now. I mean, he went to a point in this later on in the late 2000s, early 2000 teens, where he couldn't he said he couldn't get work. And so now he just takes it. He takes every role and just has the most fun that he can. And I enjoy it. Like I said, him playing Lobo. I'm not the biggest fan of the character, but I'm a big fan of Jason Momoa. It's like Bane. Not no, I'm not a big fan of Bane, but I'm a big fan of Scott Snyder. Sometimes these things that I don't like in different hands can spark my interest in them. So. Yeah, when dealing with assholes on the internet, just say I sometimes I don't even say that. I mean, like I said, I was on Junkie the other night, and we had trolls in the chat there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time trying to bring you online with the conversation we're having. If you can't figure it out, then you want to be a troll, then just be a troll. What I miss about Inash's stream was the major arguments and sometimes yelling at, yeah, we got fucking crazy on that show. I love how you manage your streams, William. It's quite a calm atmosphere. Yeah, sometimes it would get crazy. And I know I would always kind of step back because, like, my biggest fear when we were on that show is that people would, sometimes me and Enosh were on the air for 3 and 4 hours at a time. And so you're at any point during the show, we could be having a heated conversation. And then 20 minutes later, we'd be like, oh, wow, this is cool. Because that's what we did. We approached each topic as a separate type of thing. And we never crossed that line. But if you were only taking snapshots, sometimes people thought me and Enosh would hate each other. I'm like, no, dude, we're streaming on the same channel as you. But yeah, I just try to keep the conversation. Because, like I said, at the center, when I'm at the center and we're having these conversations, we're not screaming and hollering at each other. We're not talking in all caps. So that's, like I said, every time I feel myself sliding to the conversation I may not want to have, I think of the ones I want to have and how I want those conversations to be perceived, and I try right there. I keep looking for new movies to go to the theater, but recently no movies I want to see other than those special Lord of the Rings movies, all the releases. I would root that. Wow, you're rooting for him to die, Clint? Damn, that's harsh, man. I may check out Wonder Man just to see the jokes of the superhero fatigue, and hopefully it's not spoilers past MCU character he'll be in. Marvel posted a clip of the character. I am going to watch. I'm going to watch Wonder Man with no expectations, and then I'll be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, it sounds like Clint's on the plane. Jose, you were great last week on the Buster stream. Great points. Thank you. I can say every when I got into YouTube, it was Film Junkie and Chris Wong Swinson that were my examples of how I wanted to adjust the conversation I would have with a real person if I ever got a chance to be on this type of platform. And I just admire the way he runs his show, and I just try to. Every time I'm on the vodka stream, my first priority is to respect the stream, to respect the environment that he's invited me to. He can pick anybody to get on that stream with him, and he picks me, and I want to respect that and do my best to uphold his show as possible. So yeah, thank you. And like I said, it's fun being on that show. I hate Watch Titans gave up after Wonder Girl. You mean after Wonder Girl had the telephone pole killer and electrocutor? You gave up after that? Wow, you missed out on a lot of other shit that you probably would have walked out on. But for some reason, I loved that show. It was the look and the feel. I love the costumes for Titans. Wonder Girl's costume, especially. I loved her costume. I loved the Hawk and Dove. They looked exactly Dick Grayson. Even though never been a fan of the Nightwing design, no matter what, they did it right to the T. Deathstroke, Esai Morales on that show. He was an excellent Deathstroke. I just had a lot of fun with the show, but at the same time, if you came to me with a list of shit that like, I can't believe you watched this show, William, I'd be like, yeah, but it was fun. You didn't like? Oh, I love Death. I love that Deathstroke. William, I may have to check out Titans since you may be one of the only people who praise it. Hey, listen, a lot of people watch that show, dude. That got 4 seasons. A lot of people watch that show. Remember, that was a show that was on the DC app, the DC Unlimited app, and along with Titan Doomsday, or not Doomsday, Doom Patrol. So that show got 4 years. That show got more than Mindhunters. So it was a mess, but a lot of people watch that show that won't ever admit that they watched that show. I'm one of the ones that watched it, knew it was a mess, and still enjoyed it. And because of Titans, I got Doom Patrol, which is one of the best comic book TV series ever made. So here you go. Absolute Vodka. Oh, there you go. Trademark that. William, can you remember any movies that you went into thinking you would absolutely hate it and came out loving it? The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. I did not like the trailers for that. I thought I was going to hate that movie. I ended up loving that movie. A movie called Changing Lanes. Back when I didn't have the respect for Samuel L. Jackson that I would have, and Ben Affleck. The trailers for that were horrible, but I loved the movie. Absolutely loving it. There's not too many. Not too many. Oh, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Thought I was going to hate that. But I wasn't, but only because 2014 was so boring to me. I don't know. There's not too many of those because it takes a lot to change my mind about a movie going into it. And it's usually not that dramatic of a switch. I might not hate it as much as I thought I was going to. But there's more movies where I went into thinking, going into what I knew that it was going to be better than it was, and then it ended up being very disappointing. All 3 of the Nolan Batman movies, except for The Dark Knight, 47 minutes. Cloverfield, we've gone over that ad nauseum. I do the promotion for Cloverfield, some of the best I've ever seen in Hollywood movie making, and the movie was such a letdown. So yeah, it's usually more the other way where I go in with high expectations and I'm disappointed than the other way around. Dan, thanks for it's a good question. I might have to come back to that question because that's one you have to think about because we've all seen a lot of movies. So I have not seen Chief of War, but yeah, I'm happy for him too. That movie didn't end well, but I didn't think it was a worse movie. I thought it could have been a lot better. Could have been a lot better. No, the biggest disagreement me and Enosh had, well, 2. He loves the death of Superman. I hate that storyline. I don't hate the people who made it, so don't go emailing, the people and hey, Williams, you sure talking shit about. No, I don't like those type of stories. I don't like gimmick stories. And to me, the death of Superman was a gimmick, and it was one of many gimmicks that led to the watering down and the saturation of comics in the mid 90s. Now it didn't do it all by itself. It had help, but it was one of those ones that I saw where it was starting to erode. And the other one is the fact that he thought at the time that you couldn't get the new Star Wars trilogy off without Skywalkers, and I vehemently, like you guys know, if you watch this show for any length of time, I disagree. I think they should have began. I think they should have had faith in their product. And as soon as that scroll would have started rolling, people would have been back at it again. But he thought that you couldn't do Star Wars The Force Awakens without the Skywalkers. And I'm like, dude, here we go again in that same college. So we had some not heated, but we probably, if I would have talked to him again, it's been a while. We would still disagree on those 2 issues. William, the Berlantiverse outlived the DCU and Snyderverse. Let that sink in. Well, different stakes. Movie making, if you mess up on movies, the stakes are much higher. If you mismanage the Snyderverse didn't last primarily because of mismanagement of people who got into frankly getting chased from the company. Nobody that fucked up that and mismanaged Zack Snyder's movies, not one of those people are in their places now. Kevin Tishihara is gone. Emmerich is gone. Sarnoff is gone. Hamada is gone. Just all those people are gone. Whereas with the Berlanti stuff, there were no stakes. I will always believe that the CW was there to pad losses. Because if you look at it, I don't think the network didn't draw a profit from 06 to recently. So to me, the math says that's where we say, okay, you're saying, you use it as a tax break. We made so much money this year. Oh, but we took a loss here, but we still need it. I don't know, but it wasn't like you had the viewership. When you go to a movie, when you make a movie, the audience is much larger and wider. And so a success or failure on that level is much larger than on a small screen on a channel that not everybody watch, not very many people watch. So yeah, it's apples and oranges there, Rational. I feel what's lacking on a lot of these superhero shows, even Titans, was testosterone inducing action fights. My only most memorable fights are still Circa 2. Yeah, I can agree with that, because if you watch Daredevil, I mean, you get them there. So yeah, I would agree that outlet of violence and fighting is not as prevalent as it used to be. It could come back, I mean, a lot of it is depending on the story. I mean, we saw it, I think Daredevil Born Again lacked some of that. So I would like to see a lot more of that. Batman, I don't know. I mean, certain movies, it's not necessarily going to be appropriate. Like when you're talking about the Batman, it's much more of a cerebral version of Batman than in the Ben Affleck warehouse scene Batman. So, but they're both good, I'm sad that they never had made that Hawk and Duck spinoff promise to make. Yeah, because that had the dude from Jack Reacher, and it had what's her face from Friday Night Lights. Enosh was enemy territory when I used to hang out on other channels that beefed with him. Young and Dumb. Yeah, I remember that era. I tried to stay away from all that stuff because that was stuff that predated me. Changing Lanes had the reverse effect on me. There were scenes in the trailer that never made it in the movie. I really, man, just Samuel Jackson, he showed me new dimensions in that movie. I mean, they just kept making bad decisions. I was rooting for them in that movie to just stop, and then they finally did, and it was just like it just showed you how something so small, which ignited that movie, could just get out of control. And now they're bucking with people's brakes and stuff, and it's hilarious. I'm not a big gamer, Ola. Just hold on for a second. Oops, hold on. My sister's. People say I hate too many good movies. They ignore Williams. Hey, listen. I have certain taste, and everybody has certain taste. There are certain things about certain movies that I need. In my superhero movies, there are certain things I need, and if they're not there, it's hard for me to connect. And like I said, the Dark Knight trilogy. If Heath Ledger wasn't on my screen, then I was not engaged in that movie. $5 super chat. I hope the super chat function is working tonight. Knock on wood. William, Arrowverse creator Mark Guggenheim said he left. He felt like his time on Arrowverse when he realized Gunn was rebooting was like his time was wasted. No, because that was its own thing, and that was something what Gunn is doing is primarily cinematic. He has TV shows, but you are never going to be able to carry over the Arrowverse into what he's going to be doing on HBO Max. You got different production value, you have a different investment. And who knows? I mean, I don't know what Gunn, I mean, he may revisit the CW. I don't know, but I think that Guggenheim should be more angrier at the corporate people who never really gave them a budget to do something on a higher end than that. The people who worked on Arrow and Flash and all those shows for the years that those shows were on the air, it wasn't their fault that those shows turned out that way. Some of you love them, but I look at it as like low budget stuff that I can't really connect with. And that's another thing. If you're doing superhero or anything, I need you to spend the money or I can't watch it. But the Berlantiverse and the CW was its own thing, its own moment. There's a lot of people that connected with it. But what James Gunn is doing as far as elevating a brand to that level, the CW stuff, I mean, he had to understand that just didn't fit. Like every time I hear about people saying, well, Grant Gustin should play the Flash in the cinematic, I'm like, why? Just because he warmed your heart on a small screen? That's just not a good enough reason to carry that over. So I can understand his sentiment, but I understand why those decisions were made. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I hope I get it. Here you go again with this shit. One of these days I'm gonna meet that girl. I'm gonna have her do a spot and say hi, Forth. Since you're so obsessed with her and my pants, you're obsessed with her and my pants. One of those things I'm okay with, but my pants, what the fuck is wrong with you? Snarky J said, William, I'm looking for a co-host job. Would you acknowledge you already have a Brad? A, she doesn't seem the type that would have a co-host. And two, just because she's nice looking doesn't mean we would gel as a co-host and whatever. And it doesn't matter whether she was ugly. There has to be a connection there as far as the flow of a conversation. So I wouldn't necessarily kick Brad out because Brad fits the conversation. Brad brings a dimension to the conversation that I need. I think that on certain topics we're talking about, especially when he's we put him in journalist mode and we devil's advocates, things like that. And that's something you have to have a feel for. So I don't know if I would replace Brad for another co-host, just, for any reason, simply because I think he fits what we do with the show. So. Wait, okay. Well, wait, I see. And I don't, you know what? He did something. It's out there. There are fans of it. And the CW stuff gets more and more fans every day. I was never a fan of it. But now, as time has passed, there's a lot of people. Listen, people who watch Superman and didn't watch those shows, they watched Superman, James Gunn Superman. Now they're looking for more Superman. Now they're going to roll into Superman and Lois. There's a lot. It's out there. I'm not the biggest fan of the CW Arrowverse, but it's out there. Many of those shows lasted a long time. Once again, I've already explained why. But it's out there. He should be proud of his work. He shouldn't feel like something he did, for nearly a decade, is a waste. It was what it was. It was never going to be what James Gunn was working on. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Devils. But thank you for the $5 super chat. I was thinking Smallville wasn't on the same time as Superman Returns, but the show debuted in 2001 and Returns came out. Two things I'm not a fan of when it comes to the Big Red S. I will not go into my diatribe of I was never a big fan of Smallville. I wasn't a big fan of the premise of a Clark Kent in Smallville, period. Unless it was I am a old school pre-crisis Superman thing. And when you tell me if you're Clark Kent in Smallville, you're Superboy. And I'm never going to let that go. And John Byrne, fuck you for doing that. He basically eliminated that continuity for a while. It's now been restored, but But for a while, you until like the last 10 years, Superboy, and that's why you had to change the origins of Legion of Superheroes and all those things because Superboy was the inspiration. Long story, but I was never a big fan of Smallville at all. I mean, I know a lot of people love it, and that's fine. I just had a problem with they wanted to be Superman, but they didn't want to be Superman, and then everybody just made their way to Smallville, Kansas. I'm like, wait a minute, it was just always seemed forced, and it just was never. I never felt that it was aimed towards me. So, but yeah, and I in Superman Returns, it was nostalgia. And what have I always said about nostalgia? If you do it right, it's like a bomb. You're disarming a bomb. You pull the right wires, everybody makes it out of the lives. You pull the wrong ones, everybody dies. So if you're going to do nostalgia, it's a very delicate thing. And Superman Returns was just nostalgia going back to a different generation of Superman fans, and it just didn't float. Who's going to win tomorrow? I think the NFC Championship game, or today actually, is going to be Seattle. And then the AFC Championship game is going to be New England. So it's going to be a rematch of the Seattle Super Bowl 2014. Seattle, New England. That's who I think. I mean, could be wrong, but I'm just guessing. The audience of Smallville wasn't even necessarily comic fans, more so. Yeah, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. They slapped Smallville and that S on there, and then they went after their audience that enjoyed it. You had an age group and adolescents and pre-adolescents that really loved that show, and it just wasn't for me. And my biggest issue with some of these shows and some of these things and cartoons and things that are on Smallville is people just can't take them for what they are. They got to take it and say, well, we should make it like Smallville, or we should make this big screen thing like the Flash on TV. And I'm like, no, or Batman Animated Series. My biggest contention with Batman Animated Series is its influence that it had on decision-making for that generation, because a lot of people were trying to use that as the basis. And I'm like, wait a minute, we got decades of Batman that we need to be using for that. I mean, why are we using a cartoon that really was toned down for children? And I'm like, and I feel the same way about any of these shows. It's like, enjoy the show and the cartoon and whatever for what it was, but don't be trying to roll that over into the cinematic, or the high-end universe. That's my feeling on it. Hold on, I'm getting chats. Send me a request. Okay, hold on for a second. Multitasking. I'm not good at multitasking, by the way. I'm usually gonna fuck it up. Hold on. Let's go back. Request, public, private, request. All right, there we go. But yeah, if you listen, I got people in this chat right now that love Smallville. I'm just not one of them. I can't wait to see what Greg Berlanti does with Captain Planet. I still can't believe that they're making that. But hey. Ashley Brad's friend father is into Arrow, and he's more of a Marvel guy. Fourth, William might have a certain insider information that Batgirl is something that will be released. Will be released on Monday. Can we watch it on stream? No, we cannot. If it's being released illegally, we definitely cannot. If it's being released on the up and up, I still have no desire to see it. From what I saw, it looked like something I wouldn't want to see even if it was released. But I don't know. We can do a charity donation or something like that. But if it's being released and not from Warner Brothers or HBO, I don't even want any part of it, to be honest with you, because not only do I, like I said, do I have no desire to see a Batwoman movie at this point, or a Batgirl movie at this point. Two, we have relationships and partnerships with Warner Brothers, and the last thing we literally advertise Warner Brothers films on this channel, so I wouldn't do that for a couple different reasons. But if it's released on like legitimate streaming, I guess. I mean, we can make a gag out of it and get Perp on because he's been waiting for that. But nah, if it's a pirated or a leak, no, I definitely will not be showing it or even talking about it for that matter. William, did you promote Superman Returns back in? No. I did not start promoting stuff until I think 2008, 2007, 2008. So that was just a couple of months before my time. Question, William Hunter Icky, why is your thoughts on Saturday night? I only watched the one match. And that was AJ Styles Shinsuke Nakamura match. On the one hand, they put on the best match of the show tonight. They put on the best match. They put on the best match that they possibly could put on at their conditions and ages, given all they've been through. And then I'm like, where the fuck was this the last 10 years? And I know they faced each other, but they should have had way more matches than they've had. They should have had matches like they on this level when they were younger and not as, broken down, not near, AJ's retirement. AJ Styles has been in WWE since 2014. He left TNA. He went to New Japan for 2 years, 2014, 2015. Actually, no, so he's been in there since 2016. And to be honest with you, and I know people are going to have varying disagreements. I wish there had been an AEW at that time, because I don't know if AJ Styles goes to there. If there, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But I think there were, I am always going to stand on it that they did not do as much as they could have done with the phenomenal AJ Styles as they should have. And the same thing with Samoa Joe. I thought those were two phenomenal talents that just didn't get the run I think they should have gotten. But tonight was a throwback to the type of matches that I would have liked to see AJ Styles have during his entire 10 years with AEW. I'm a big fan of Gotham. I really dug that show and all the quirks. Yeah, I'm happy for you, Aaron. I did not like that show, and that last scene with that Batman, that cardboard Batman costume, whatever. But that show had a budget too, by the way. That wasn't a CW show. Gotham had money. That's what they gave you. William, it's 2000 and you walk into Blockbuster. Which films are you renting? Well, if I didn't already own several copies, we're getting Blade Runner. Or getting Blade Runner on the international cut. We're gonna get The Thing from John Carpenter. We're gonna get The Godfather Part 1. And you know what? I'm gonna throw a curveball at you because this film had been out, and have we not done a watch party? We do need to do a watch party of this movie. And it was the first Leonardo DiCaprio movie that I actually, enjoyed, and that's Romeo and Juliet. There is a version of Romeo and Juliet. If you have not seen it, you are missing out. It is done in the spoken word of William Shakespeare's text, but it is modernized. John Leguizamo's in it. Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. Clara Danes is in it. And it's got an awesome soundtrack. Garbage Number One Crush is one of those. And they're speaking Shakespeare. So imagine a modern movie. Instead of swords, they had guns. Instead of horses, they had the cars. But they were the same people. Capulet, they were the same people. And it was, if you were picking up Shakespeare to read it, that's how they were speaking in that movie. So that would be my 4. I don't watch UFC at all. Sorry, man. If it's released by the actual, people who own it, or if it's been sold, if it's a legit, we may consider it. Not something I'm going to jump out of bed and be like, wow, what's going on Monday morning? Ooh, because I had no desire to see it one way or another, pirated or otherwise. Chicago Bears fans almost as bad as Dallas Cowboys fans and thinking every year is their year. Well, this year was the first year with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. So this year they got, barred. I mean, they got further than you really should think because there's still a lot of stuff to be worked out. And Caleb Williams got to get better as a quarterback. He still has a lot. He's not that quarterback yet. Cowboys fans, I don't know, man. I mean, until you trade the owner for a player to be named later, he's about getting attention and making money. He's not about building a Super Bowl winning organization. I think the Bears are a lot closer to a Super Bowl than the Cowboys are. If it's being released through other means for it, then why don't you host a watch party for it? I mean, yeah, Perp would salivate over that shit. He would you're going to get taken down and probably sued, but hey, have fun. Oh yeah, AJ and Sensei match at WrestleMania. That was a huge letdown. That was their first meeting. And that was when they were still of able body. I mean, I'm not saying they're broke down now. They're still in great shape, but they weren't in the shape that they were when that match took place. And they had faced each other. Sensei was already gone, I believe, before. AJ, Shinsuke left. I think Shinsuke left in 2010. AJ got there in 2014. And AJ Styles' run in New Japan was, I think, the best 2 years of his entire career, and that includes his TNA run. I have to think about that one, Dan. I'm pretty sure I could find worse ones if I sat back and thought about it. Ask me that in a couple of days. Ask me that when I'm at the store because I think I could be looking at the wall and find some worse ones. Especially if I go back to like the 60s where they were just giving you cheese villains. So. Question, William, what do you think AJ Styles will get? Maybe if Mike Santana drops the title. I would like, and I think they might do this, I would like to see AJ Styles get one more last TNA run. I think they should be using him, now they got the TV deal, I think that would be cool for that to happen. William, did you ever have? Yes, I have a BH and Betamax version. The Betamax one took me forever to find because there wasn't that many of them. And yeah, I have several VHSs of Blade Runner in various different conditions. Fish Mooney was good, if not one of the best characters in Gotham already. I got halfway through it and I left. I remember that movie. I snuck into another movie. I just wasn't feeling it. Highlight of Romeo and Juliet was Hero Perna. You can make an argument, man. I mean, that movie made a lot of characters look really good. And I think you can give credit to Shakespeare. Shakespeare's text makes it all work. And then that score that they underlie with it. And then you had like I said, you had a lot of hit bands at the time. Garbage was at the top. Shirley Manson and crew were at the top of their game and during that time. I remember hearing Romeo Must Die with Jet Li and Aaliyah. It was one of the many Matrix styles to get ripped off. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Brad would defend that movie, but yeah, I just thought it was a... Yeah. It was in the credits, wasn't it? Hold on. I thought it was in the credits. Because I know that was hold on. Because I have that movie. I bought that movie on digits. We need to do a watch party of that. We really do. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm pretty sure that was in the end credits. Not. Let's see. Man, Garbage is such a great band. Still is a great band. Okay, from March through May 1987, Romeo and Juliet opened in theaters throughout Europe. April, mushroomed the success number on Crush to European radio. Okay, but similar soundtrack. Hold on. Okay, the soundtrack album for Romeo and Juliet was released in North America on October 29, 1996. Oh, 30 fucking years ago. Oh my God, that movie's 30 years ago. And Leonardo DiCaprio is still getting 25-year-old women. 3 days before the film's released, Number One Crush was placed as the album opener. I'm pretty sure that yeah, it's in the movie. Hold on. Let me see something here. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure for that's in the movie. I mean, I have to bring up the movie again, but I looked up the other thing. Romeo and Juliet was directed by Baz Luhrmann, and almost every Aussie high schooler had to watch that movie, which was cool to watch in high school. Yeah, I was. Well, how old was I when I saw that movie? I was 23. AJ Lee, AJ Styles. Well, one's a man, one's a female. So, yeah, I would like to see him win that title one more time. So that way I can get my belt autographed. I have the laser disc. I have the giant laser disc. I think I brought that up at the store one time. Yeah. If Batgirl was ever given the Snyder Cut treatment, would the Sci-Fi Center ever screen it? Probably not. I knew what I was getting with the Snyderverse or Snyder Cut because we had seen Batman. We were seeing the movies that were leading up to it. Everything I'd seen from Batgirl looked kind of cheesy and kind of like low budget-ish. So I didn't really have any desire for it. So, I mean, if Warner Brothers said screen it, then I would. If Warner Brothers said, hey, we're going to release this movie, we want you to screen it or we want you to promote it, I would. I grew up in the hood of New Zealand and remember being 5 years. Someone robbed our house and my Return of the Jedi VHS. It's in. Ooh, wow, that sucks. If you're not a wrestling fan, you may not know him. AJ Styles is, I think, one of the greatest wrestlers of his generation. I enjoy watching him wrestle. I followed him from TNA. He was a TNA original all the way up to New Japan, where I think, like I said, he had to do. But if you're not a wrestling fan, no, I mean, there's no reason why you would know who he is. It's not like he's Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair. He's not that. He didn't have that kind of cultural impact. But if you're a wrestling fan, you watch a lot of. If you're a hardcore, you know who he is. But if you're not, I understand you not know. Yeah. If you listen to it, it's in the closing credits, if I can remember correctly. It's also there is a instrumental. That's the word we're looking for. There's an instrumental where you just hear and it's when they're at the party. I think it's one of the songs when they're at the party and she's got the wings on. I think that I'm gonna listen. We're gonna watch that movie again, so we'll find out. But I'm pretty sure. And then at the end of it, I think the interlude at the end of it, I think that number one crush is in the end credits as well. Let's see. I don't think AJ Styles is going to New Japan. No, I don't think. I think he's when he retires. I think he's I think they're setting this whole thing up here with Gunther, you know, because Gunther's going to be like they're building him up as this major heel, you know, career ender type of thing. So it's like, you know, I would love to see him have one last run and maybe battle Suji for that belt. That'd be great. But, you know, if James Gunn wanted to greenlight a crossover event with Chris Pratt, the Greatest American Hero, and Dave Bautista, Bane, you lost me there, Dan. You lost me there. Let's Suicide Squad. That would be good enough to make you tap out. Yeah, that would make me tap out. I was tapping out at Dave Bautista as Bane. I hate that pairing. Greatest American Hero. They tried to do something with that, but listen. Once again, guilty pleasures. It wasn't the greatest show. Greatest American Hero was not the greatest American show. And I look back on it now, it doesn't age well. 6-7-year-old me, love that show. Had one of the greatest theme songs of any show, no matter how, you know, it only got like 2 years, but believe it or not, I love that song. And I love that show. Now, there's a lot of shit that I grew up as a kid in the 80s looking back. I'm like, oh my God. But then we didn't, I always tell you guys, we didn't have anything else. That is what we had. We had 3 network channels. There was no cable. That's what we watched, you know? William, would your parents let you rent whatever you wanted from Blockbuster? There were limits. I mean, but we didn't really breach the limits because everything, I mean, half the stuff that we would watch together. Like there wasn't anything that we would get from Blockbuster that we either already didn't see in the movies or was the type of movies that me and the old man or the family were watching. Remember, the old man was taking me to horror movies at 5, 6, and 7 years old. So there really wasn't any limits to be pressed. You know, obviously there was some like erotic, something like that, but at that age, I wasn't into it. And by the time I would ever think of buying that stuff, I was a grown ass man buying my own stuff. So for the most part, the experience at Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or any of these other ones or the base was usually a vote. It was usually a vote, you know, whatever, you know, who had the vote. And like the week before, if I got to pick a movie, then I didn't get a vote the next week, and my sister, she didn't get a vote. We rotated it, and then the old man would get one that he wanted to see. And generally, we watched the same movies when we were that age. You know, so nah. William, say his name and he appears. I believe in Brad Curran. I believe in Brad Curran. Well, Brad's a pussy. So the little flu bug has him curled up in his ball, probably next to his little dog. You know, he said he's coughing and stuff like that. I'm not. He's not a pussy. I just fuck with him every time. Brad tells me, "Hey man, I'm sick tonight." I type in. He's probably told you this. I type in the word "pussy" in all caps because I'm a tough old bastard. I got through basic training. I got through basic training with walking pneumonia because I wanted to get out of Fort Sill so bad that I was willing to die to get out of that fucking place. But so no, we said his name. He's not here. He probably sleep. Born the same year as Jeff Hardy, Brock Lesnar, and Sonny. So am I. The $6 million man was absolute cinnamon in the 80s as a kid. Yeah, him and the Bionic Woman. Remember the sounds that they would make, when he was supposed to be moving super fast and he wasn't really, he was doing slow motion, but they did that effect. Yeah. And then remember Max the Bionic Dog? I had that as an action figure. New Game of Thrones show is pretty interesting so far. Oh, wow. That's tonight, huh? We got to watch that tonight. I feel it's what Game of Thrones needs, a show about singular characters. Sir Dunk gives me Reeves Clark vibes going into Metropolis. He's actually a pretty important knight. If you And they even showed a promo of when Joffrey is flipping through the books of the knights, the book of the brothers, and Sir Duncan was like a historic knight. So things work out well for him. And that the kid he's with is a future king. If you guys, that's not a spoiler alert. Egg is Aegon. Duncan Egg. That's the historical. Egg is Aegon. King Aegon. I think it's the third. And they reveal it in the previews, and they're gonna they'll reveal it, and because Dunk gets in a conflict with somebody, and he has to stand up for him, and as royalty, that's his word. So I'm loving these rascals in AEW. They have great charisma. Yeah, they had great. I got to see them live several times with TNA. Yeah. Suncoast is where you went to see which shit came out, and then you went somewhere else to buy it for much cheaper than them motherfuckers had it. Suncoast was in the mall, and they had a high overhead, so you would see cool stuff there, but then you'd have to go find it somewhere else because it was really expensive. But there was like posted. There was a lot of other cool stuff that Suncoast had. It was a fun place to walk around, though. It's a fun place to walk around. Brad sick again, Kung Fu. Something. That guy, and he, like I said, I've been on the show. You'll see me hacking. Like if I lose my voice, or if it just gets to the point like I can't do it anymore. But yeah, plus he's on the East Coast, so he's I don't know. It's William, where do you think comic book movies would be now if WB went with more Adam West inspired? They'd be dead. They'd be gone because the world has moved on from that. The world had moved on from Adam West inspired action in the 80s. It was a reason why Adam West never was Batman again, even though, they thought that, in the 60s, people actually petitioned for that. And they're like, no, I think the world has moved on from that version of Batman. Brad has the sniffles. He said he's got the flu. No, that is Varys. Varys is the unit guy. Aegon is what is he? Is he Aegon? Is he Aegon the third or the fourth? But he's definitely he's a prince. Trying to figure out which one. I know he's a king. Yeah, Aegon the fifth. Aegon the fifth. Nickname Egg in his use is one of the and this is where you're seeing him, is one of the two main characters in Tales of Duncan Egg, the novellas from like the late 90s. He is played by English actor. As a child, his father was Prince Maekar, who you see, and he reluctantly allows him to serve as a squire to the lowborn hedge knight. But yeah, King Aegon's reign lasted more than 25 years, during which time he tried to push policies more favorable in the interest of common people. Let's see. During what you like, he's King Aegon the Fifth. He is a descendant and a relative of Jon Snow, who is Prince Aegon the Sixth, I believe. Oh yeah, Circuit City lasted up to about 8-9 years ago, and same thing with Radio Shack. I remember when Radio Shack was the place you went for certain things. I remember their catalog used to be the coolest thing. Oh, okay, no, but everybody's got a different opinion. I remember that. Remember the video that they made when the Batman came out, and they replaced Robert Pattinson with Adam West, and he's running through that bomb. It's so hilarious. Oops! Oh wow, we're rolling there. What are your thoughts on the Star Wars sequels? Well, I don't like them. I thought they had an amazing potential with Force Awakens to hand that off to a new generation, and they just went nostalgia and stayed nostalgia. And the next two movies, I just wasn't a fan. Let's see. Ugh, I don't know about that, but all right. With the shark repellent. Oh, I love Game of Thrones. It's the one I read the books, and I don't read. I can read. I'm very good at reading, but Stephen King's The Stand made me want to pull my eyes out of that book. I read that whole thing, and then watched the movie 4 days later and said I could have just fucking watched this. But no, I've read the books of Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones. I read those books, and I read the book that this is based on. I can go, man. I was so big into the lore that when we would do our screenings at the center, I would bring up some of that stuff because Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 4 it pretty much mirrors the book. But after season 4, he was still working on Winds of Winter. That's how long that season 4 of Game of Thrones aired in 2014. And after that, everything after that was stuff that the showrunners came up with. So yeah, I'm huge in the Game of Thrones, man. I'm big in the Game of Thrones. So House of the Dragon, I know who lives and dies in House of the Dragon, but House of the Dragon, even though it's based on a song of the Dance of Dragons, it's hearsay. So the showrunners, if they want to, can change anything they want in that series because the people that are telling the story in Dance of Dragon are basically liars and drunks. So, but there are certain things that they have stuck to in the books, but they can do a lot. But yeah, I'm big into Game of Thrones. Hunter William, if Kevin Conroy was still alive and he in his 30s today era, who would you choose as Batman, Kevin Conroy or Ben Affleck? Kevin Conroy was an excellent voice actor. I don't know if he would have changed just because you can voice someone, having the voice characteristics of the character you're going for and having the physical and otherwise articulating acting ability to do a live action are not the same. I know sentimentally a lot of people would choose Kevin Conroy, but as someone who would want to see the role filled out in all its forms, I would have to go Ben Affleck. That's no disrespect to Kevin Conroy. Even direction style of his new Game of Thrones. I forget the name. The Tall Knight. Yeah, subtle comedic tone. I was kind of pissed off with that whole shitting scene. I'm like, what the fuck? They started playing the Game of Thrones music, and you're like, you think something is about to happen. Game of Thrones, like, I'm like, all right, here, what are we doing here? And then it's him taking it visibly. They didn't hide. I mean, he's taking the long shit, and I'm like, really? I'm liking it though. So like I said, I'm going to be watching it tomorrow. I didn't know if we would have a big enough audience to do a live watch on it, but if we get another season, and or I probably will, and you guys are into it, we'll start off with the first season and we'll just do a watch along that way. Hunter Kevin Conroy played an evil live action Batman in CW. Yeah, and a lot of it, they had everything that they needed to make those movies great. They chose nostalgia, they chose the Skywalker security blanket, and I think that was the death of those movies. Rational William, at what age did you use the internet for the first time, and what was it like? I was 20. I was 20, and I was blown away. And I think the greatest gift God ever gave me was not having the internet as a kid, because even though I was blown away by the internet, I realized how much I cherished the conversations that I had with people in front of them and with them, and but to be able to go outside of your realm and literally traverse the World Wide Web and expand your boundaries, learning things, and it changed the world for me because before it was TV libraries and things like that. Now everything was at your fingertips. And that was with AOL. I had AOL and I was in AOL chat rooms and Wizard World. A lot of you guys don't remember that. It had its own website, but it had a chat so we can meet other geeks. But then we, 4 or 5 years later, between 1994 and 1999, you had high-speed internet like what I'm on right now, Cox Cable. We went from the whole dial-up era to fast speed, and from that point, that's all I've had. So yeah, it was it was like, like I said, it was probably the biggest change, that I had in my life. Like some people who straddled the black and white TV era to the color era, or the people who went from horses to cars and things like that. That was my big jump from what the type of life I was living into what I would live from this point on. Internet was for porn. You know what? I was a wrestling fiend at that time, and a lot of the dirt sheets were the only place you could get them on there. He's never gonna finish those books, dude. He's never wins a winner. He literally has been working on Wins a Winner since before the last season of Game of Thrones. LOL, yeah. Game of Thrones music begins. We wait for a new landscape map intro, and that was like, what the fuck? I'm glad I didn't have internet as a kid, too. It makes me so different. Yeah, and once again, we're on the internet right now, and the internet is huge. It's a big part of our lives now. But there's something is to be said for what technology has taken away. And I always call it those random encounters, not just with people, but things. I didn't have a Spotify playlist. We listened to the radio. And some of the songs and moments I cherish from this, that to this day, I would have never heard if I would have just picked and chose what I wanted to listen to in the parameters. I turned it on the radio, and here's a song I liked, and I wanted to hear it again. So I went out and bought the tape, the cassette, or the CD. I had to go out. That desire to have that random encounter, I went out to the warehouse, or Tower Records, or wherever I needed to go. And then I think it has changed the soul of the world, not being able to sit across from, or not choosing to sit across from somebody, and talk to them and feel them out. And, when somebody says something you don't like, you just hit the X or you block them. Here we had to work we didn't just want it. We invested in these friendships, in these conversations, and we just didn't want to throw them away, just because we might hit a rough patch in the conversation. The internet, click, you're gone, blocked, bam. So yeah, as much as the technology has helped us out, I am grateful. I am grateful to have lived in a world without that for my entire childhood. Question, William, what are your thoughts on Derrick Rose's retirement speech? I did not see it. I just saw that they retired his number. I did not see his speech, though. If I had the internet as a kid, especially on my phone, I'd have died from lack of hydration. That's like me in gaming. If I ever got into the gaming and stuff like that, oh my, you'd never see me again. And when you saw me, you'd be horrified. FidoNet? Never heard of that. Wow. But you are a bit older than me, Clay. William, would you have any interest in watching a totally AI created movie? And do you see that? I don't see that as a feature of Hollywood. I think I think it'll be part of Hollywood, and it all depends. if you're just if you're just giving me something for entertainment value and to watch it, then I don't see any reason why I wouldn't watch it. Now, if you're talking about like from a moral stand of view, I don't know where I am yet as far as do I need a human actor to play everything? Ultimately, I am at the end of the process. I'm the one who watches the end process. I don't know how I feel about that yet. Yeah, and like I said, that's one of the good things. My reach isn't just Las Vegas or California or the neighborhoods that you're in. Your reach is everywhere. But at the same time, I just don't think people put into work in the relationships and into the conversations and the investment. It's just so easy. I really think that a lot of these things that we say to each other online and the trolling and stuff, it would be a lot different if you actually knew who the fuck you were talking to on a basis that wasn't just a screen or a chat. This is how I feel. Yeah, remember like Napster and LimeWire, and like that's when it really got crazy. I don't know. I have not come to terms with the whole AI thing. I haven't really gotten into a lot of those decision making conversations, and I haven't really chose a side. On the one hand, I cherish actors and stuff, but at this other time, I mean, technology. There's how many things there's just technology has made better. I'm still in the studying phase of this one. To me, it's not as black and white issue as it is for some other people. I don't have Spotify. I just listen to music on YouTube or internet radio. Thanks to the internet, I can listen to radio. Yeah, radio. That's another thing. That is a really cool point that you brought up. Is back in the day, you had to be within the antenna. You had to be. You couldn't get you unless you were in a tri-state area and had like 11,000 watt or whatever. You couldn't get certain radio stations. Now, internet radio, every radio station is on the internet. Every single one of them is on, which is good because that keeps their tie to the average audience. William, I remember the WWF tag team, Too Cool. Yeah, Scotty Too Hottie, and all that. And a website, it would have their name, things I'm playing on it. I thought, remember the MIDI files of the wrestling themes? Yeah, that shit was great. William, is Best Buy and PC Richards going to pave the way for I don't know. Circuit City's been gone for a while though. Circuit City had they had a lot of other shit. They embezzled stuff too. There was like embezzlement. There's all kinds of history. All right, guys, that's it. I have reached the last question. Rational, you were the last question down there, so I have reached the end of it. Yeah, Best Buy is doing well. It's a chains company, but they're doing well. I got to eat because I haven't eaten today. I haven't eaten that all today. All I did was drink coffee. I had some chips, but no, that was not good for me. So I was just so caught up in the stuff that I was doing. I'll answer this last one for Dan and Man because it's a really cool code. Would I trade the ease of use of Spotify and Apple Music for more communal experience or radio play? Yeah, but not by a lot because I do enjoy. Because I was there when you had to have the random encounters when it came to music, I have carried that over to like YouTube Music. So a lot of my playlists are songs that I listened to back then, and I've developed those habits that I use even in 2026. I'll be walking somewhere, and I think the greatest invention is Shazam. Shazam is cool because you can pick it up and you can aim it, and it'll tell you what the song is, dude. Before Shazam, I was all fucked up. If I heard a song, I would have to remember the lyrics. Pre-Shazam and in the internet, I would type in the lyrics, and the internet wasn't as big. So sometimes you would get the song, sometimes you wouldn't. I would hear a song that I was obsessed with, and I would only hear certain lyrics. I shit you not. I would call up the radio station in the middle of the night, and I would sing that song. And I would get help. I'm losing my voice. I would get help from the DJ, and he's like, "Is this a song?" And what would happen? As I would call, and the DJ would be like, "Okay, give me a couple minutes," and then they would find the song and they would play it for me, and I'm like, "That was cool." Now with Shazam, I can just aim it, and I broaden my horizons. So I'll be in a casino. Like one song, I listened to a song. I was in a casino standing I was watching a movie, and after the movie, I was getting a fat burger, and there was a song playing. I forgot the song, but I took my Shazam and played it, and then I ended up loving it. So that random encounter is still there, but I don't build playlists like that anymore. I build a playlist from the way I used to do it when I was a kid before we would have all this stuff. So no, I don't want to eat at stream. Whataburger is not bad. It's just if I'm going to pay Whataburger money, I want fat burger sizes. Nah, I don't think you don't want to see me eat. You barely should want to watch me talk. Oh, you want to see me eat? It's like watching your dog lick the bowl around and move it. You don't want to see that. That's not entertaining. Yeah, you had to tape it. And sometimes when you would request a song, you would request it, and then if you knew the DJ, like the DJs knew me. They knew my voice because I always made requests, and they would let me know that it's after this song. So when you hear this song, your song is next. Yep, hit record. Hit record. It's the same thing with the videos. If I wanted to watch a video after MTV when I was a kid, except videos you didn't know what was coming on. Unless the VJ would tell you this so and so Def Leppard is coming up, and that they would give you a list of songs, and then when you hear that, you were just ready, or you just taped the whole hour. Yeah, those are good old days. Yeah, Shazam was a game changer. I'm still a bit try. Yeah. And there's some songs I can't sing, so I'm trying to do my best to see what the songs were, and then like I said, you just had to be lucky that DJ knew the song, or he could discern what I was trying to say. But yeah, now it's Shazam, 2 seconds, you got it. Shazam helped me figure out songs I wanted to know all the way back in. Yeah, me too. Because what I would do is but now with the internet and Google, like, there's a lot of songs and a lot of these one-hit wonders that you never heard about again. Now I can type into the lyrics of the song, and now I can pretty much get it. TV guides were important. Yeah, I still have hard copy TV guides. Then we had the TV guide channel. And then that went away. If you saw that, you would wonder how does William avoid eating his fingers? Huh? Yeah, there we go. Probably something I would do. William, that tastes better than Hamada Burger, Snyder Cut or Air Cut. I'm going to go with the Snyder Cut. All right, Hunter Iggy's going to be the last one. Question, William, could you imagine got his song playing as well? No, I did not. That was a surprising one, and what a way to end it. Damn, that vision in my head. All right, guys. We will have a hybrid of the Saturday Night Overnight live show and our weekend wrap up. It'll pretty much replace that tomorrow or today at 10:30. We'll talk a little bit of football because I'm pretty sure I will be wrong on both my predictions, but it's going to be a fun day for football. We're going to review Absolute Batman number 16 ahead of time. We are going to talk Labyrinth. I think it's going to be Labyrinth. It's going to be our movie 86. I don't know what the 86 the music topic will be. Might have a couple of them. And we'll just have a loose conversation that, like I said, didn't take place tonight because I just ran late. And any other newsworthy things that we will have available that I can think of stepping into a thumbnail. So tomorrow night, 10:30 Pacific Standard Time, the / weekend wrap up, and Saturday night, it'll be Sunday night. I just call it Sunday Night Overnighter because it'll probably be a pretty lengthy show. I'm looking at tomorrow's show because we got a lot to cover because we didn't cover today, about 2 or 3 hour show, maybe. Might even have an open panel if you people do not annoy the fuck out of me during the show. Maybe so keep that in mind. Other than that, guys, have a nice Sunday. If you're into football, have a good time watching it. And I will see you later on this evening for the Sunday Overnight live show. Good night, good morning, wherever you are.